Yeah. My bad. Got into the spirit right there. We're gonna invoke the spirit of our warrior sisters right now here on Freedom Boulevard. You feel me? Abdul Ab, and we back at it. This is a story about the women of Waalo and one of the last queens of Senegal who defied the colonizers. And yes, both our men and our women fought against the colonizers. It wasn't just no fatal swoop, and it wasn't just wicked African kings selling us. We did defy, and we still defy till this day. This is a shout out to the Gambia, to the Joff family for letting me know about this. Okay. Nene Tuti, this is for you. All right, let's check this out. This is presented to you by Home Team History. You heard? Wonderful channel. Amazing brother. He need to be even bigger on YouTube for real, for real. Let's check out what he got for us, man.
I talk a lot about African queens who were successful in their attempts in resisting foreign rule. Queens like Amanirenas of Kush, who successfully resisted Roman ambition in her region. But it's rare that I talk about queens from the colonial era. We often hear about the brave African men who resisted colonialism, but seldom do we hear about the women. So today, I wanted to talk about a little-known African queen that resisted French colonialism in Senegal. What up, African world? It's Home Team here, and I'm
what up, Home Team? What that is doodle?
Back at it with another video of African history, culture, and worldview. And as always, if you want to support the Home Team, you can do so on patreon.com. I have some new rewards for you guys, so be sure to check that out. Also, go to afrographics.com, a website where you can find unique illustrative infographics.
Check this out, what he's saying, though. Don't just, saying, check out, he got some good stuff, man. Afrographics.com. Shout out to Home Team, bro. We appreciate you, man.
Summarizing African history. All links to Patreon, Afrographics, and Home Team merchandise are in the description box below. Today, we're going to talk about Queen Yala of Waalo. Yala.
Queen Yala. Indate. Okay, my man.
Is considered one of the greatest women rulers in Senegalese history and one of the most famous women of 19th century Senegambia. Along with several other African heroes, she played a crucial role in the struggle for African sovereignty. Senegalese griots recorded her bravery in their oral histories, and she remains a symbol of female empowerment for African women all across the continent. To do this history justice, we first have to know a little about where this queen came from and her kingdom, the Kingdom of Waalo. After the fall of the Jolof Empire in Senegal in the 16th century, various kingdoms began to take precedence once more, the Kingdom of Waalo in northern Senegal being
Mandinga. They rolling deep out there in Senegal, huh?
One of them. Waalo in the 19th century was somewhat desperate to maintain its assets, especially against their French neighbors in St. Louis, who wanted to rid themselves of
neighbors. That shouldn't be a word for them, my brother. The devil's next door on San Luis Island.
Of expensive trade and customs dealings with Waalo, as goods had to pass through their country to get to French settlers and dependents. In order for Waalo to do this, they sought the aid of the Moors, Muslim Africans further north. The French, of course, did not at all want that union to happen. Waalo unfortunately had to deal with multiple civil wars, social and political unrest, and general instability. This made the Moors confident that they could take over Waalo, and thus, instead of an alliance, the Moors initially took part in invasions. These invasions
The Moors was invading, huh?
Were eventually put down, but the French became ever more interested in conquering Waalo as Waalo became indispensable to France's commercial expansion. Amadou Wade, a local historian, tells us that the king, or Brock, of Waalo at the time was basically incapable of rule, and it was the queen who took over the kingdom. But upon this previous queen's death, her sister, Queen Yala, came to the throne. At the death of Queen Njombo, It was her sister Ndateyala, married to Masroso Tase, who replaced her in the charges she was occupying close to and often instead of Brock Mbodi Malik, a flat man of little character. The year 1847 catapulted
Damn, Malik.
the Queen's problems with the French, as she was stern in demanding taxes for free passage through her land. She disagreed with the French on the free passage of the Soninka, who supplied livestock. After French complaint, she wrote a letter to the governor expressing her determination.
The head wrap looked real familiar, right? Yeah, remember that head wrap from the other video? It ain't just because white people was like, "Oh, you got to cover your hair up." Oh, now it's part of black culture. It been black culture before we hopped over the pond.
To defend her sovereignty over Waalo. We have wronged no one because the country belongs to us, and we must govern it. It is we who guarantee the passage of livestock in our country. For this reason, we will take a tenth and will never accept otherwise. St. Louis belongs to the governor, Kayer to the Damo, and Waalo to the Brock. Each of these leaders governs his country as he sees fit. The French, trying to gain leverage for power,
See the Moors with the French. Dang, the Moors are doing damage because the Moors definitely. Yeah, what's up with the connection with wars and Moors and these white folks, man? Because they definitely brought them over. You know what I mean, to the Americas, y'all. Starting to get me a little agitated. What's going on with them, man? I know.
tried to negotiate with the Queen so that St. Louis would be protected from Moorish ambition and economic calamity. However, the Queen was well aware of their intentions and would not submit to any demands or accept any supplications. In September 1850, she was visited by Father David Bolat, a mixed-race French and Senegalese colonial on missionary status.
Drizzy.
The Queen received him in her compound, surrounded by her court ladies. He illustrated how she was dressed and spoke about the encounter. She was wearing a brightly colored embroidered gown with gold, and her son carried on a richly colored loincloth. She was smoking a long black pipe, and her hair was braided and adorned with gold nuggets, which was enclosed in a scarf tied in a cone, very high on the head. With the influx of French settlers encroaching on her kingdom and refusing to pay tribute, the Queen decided to act. Interestingly enough, Queen Ndateyala reportedly developed a woman's army as one of the most formidable forces to reckon with in the region. The Waalo Kingdom's male and female army were at her command and completely loyal to her. She didn't hesitate to plunder the area around the island of St. Louis and threaten the French settlers. At this event, the French wanted reimbursement for the plunder and looting, but the Queen refused. She even asserted her rights over Mboi Island and Sore Island, and then she forbade any trade in the backwaters of her territory. After this, the French decided to go to war. After months of battle,
When you start cutting off that money, them Europeans don't like that. That's how you really hit the devil in their pockets. What's crazy, I was talking to a descendant of the Wolof Empire. She is Serer, very special sister. And she was telling me she didn't even know the African kings were also selling Africans instead of just them being raided and taken. Nor does she know the multitude or the extent of the extreme chattel slavery. I think that's a part of why a lot of Africans think that superior. I also talked to her about the superiority. Why do they think that when people move abroad, they feel that way? You're like a new person. You know, you got this dual identity. You have a new economic breach. You know, it was just sad. They used to sell us for mirrors. You know, for their vanity. You know what I'm saying? Mirrors, alcohol, and guns. You know, they used to give them salt. Of course, they wanted all the gold, but they had to, you know what I mean, ease that in, right?
the Queen and her husband refused to submit to French invasion and mobilized more forces in order to repulse the French coalition army. The French general responded by bringing new weaponry and a 1,500 army personnel, some of whom he brought in from Algeria to supplement his forces. The Queen finally lost to the French in 1855 and gave the following speech in front of her dignitaries. Today, we are invaded by the conquerors. Our army is completely routed. The Tiero of Waalo, valiant warriors though they are, have almost all fallen to the bullet of the enemy. The invader is stronger than we are, I know. But should we abandon Waalo to the hands of foreigners? Even in defeat, she still tried to rally the troops once more. From the date of her reign, she made it a mission to reject everything the French wanted to implement in her kingdom that she believed was not in her or her people's interest. The loyalty and dedication she exhibited toward her people is testament to her great legacy, and she's honored in Senegal today because of it. Well, I'm all out, guys. If you like these videos and want to help out and it's continued.
So, the story of the woman of Waalo. So the story goes, it's hard to find on here online actually that they refused to be conquered, and the story goes that the women of Waalo locked themselves in a house, and instead of succumb to slavery, abduction, SAing, assaults, they set the house ablaze and they took themselves from this planet instead of choosing to be captured by colonials. Hats off to home team. Thank you for watching. Black Light out.